Go-to podcast for all things disability and independence, brought to you by Empower Abilities, your disability and aging experts. I'm co-host Afton Harper.
And I'm Julie Jordan. Listen in as we dive into real stories, resources, and meaningful conversations that empower individuals with disabilities to live life to the fullest.
Whether you're tuning in for advocacy, inspiration, or practical tips, you're in the right place.
This is Empower Hour, because independence isn't a destination, it's a journey.
I want to take a minute to tell you about some of the services we offer here at Empower Abilities. We're all about helping people with disabilities live as independently as they want. That could mean helping someone find housing, navigate Medicare, get connected with benefits, or learn skills for daily living. We offer individual case management, advocacy, peer support, and information and referral. Basically, we help people find what they need and figure out how to get it. We also have home modifications, like ramps, grab bars, or walker steps, plus assistive technology, recycled medical equipment, and if you need a hearing aid, we can help with that too. Everything from evaluations to repairs. And for those who need a little extra help at home, we offer consumer-directed services and veterans-directed care, things like transportation and meal prep, housekeeping, and personal care. But it's not all services and paperwork. We also host social clubs, support groups, and community events, so people can connect, have fun, and build relationships. Because independence doesn't mean isolation. So if any of that sounds like something you or someone you care about might be interested in, give us a call or check out our website at empowerabilities.org. We're here to help, and we love what we do.
Sometimes we talk about aging like it's something to fear, but there's also many opportunities and experiences that come with getting older. I'm Julie Jordan, and with my co-host, Afton Harper. Today's topic centers around aging. Welcome to Empower Hour.
Our guest today is Kevin. Oh, I don't want to ruin your last name. How do you pronounce it, Kevin?
I've heard so many renditions of it, so you can't hurt my feelings. Rusenstrom.
Rusenstrom from SeniorAge, our local area agency on aging. So we'll start with this. When people hear aging, what do you think immediately comes to mind? And do we have that all wrong?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I think when you hear aging, there's probably some biases that jump up, because even as kids, we always see our parents probably as the perfect age. We're thinking, I can't wait to get their age because we'll have kids and do all the fun things they're doing. But then we think of our grandparents, and we always think, they were a little slower. Mm-hmm. They looked older, so you kind of had that bias of maybe they weren't as productive as someone else. So I think that's probably what comes to mind. And I think even people that are aging themselves, they probably throw themselves in some of that ageism, those biases.
That's interesting, because I think many people picture decline first when they think of aging. But, there are lots of older adults starting businesses or volunteering or learning new technology, doing things people really never expected them to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So May is Older Americans Month, and so we thought this would be a great topic. It's towards the end of the month, but never too old to start this conversation. Kevin, for people who may not know, what is Older Americans Month?
Well, it started back, I believe, one of the presidents established it back in the 50s. Mm-hmm. They looked at where they wanted to highlight aging, to kind of throw away some of that idea that older adults can accomplish things, that they are important, but also they probably look to get some funding to help seniors as they age back then. Mm. And then I think Jimmy Carter, the president back in the 70s, mm-hmm. established where we really called them, rather than old people, called them senior citizens.
Yeah.
At that time. And that was probably a great thing at that time. of course, that's kind of gone by the, I mean, it's starting to go by the wayside that really isn't the best thing. It's more older adults probably is a more proper thing to say, and realize that, like you were saying, it really is important to see they're accomplishing a lot. The 60 and olders are really able to help with grandkids, able to speak into people's lives. Volunteerism is a huge thing. We can't do without that stuff here in America. It's accomplishing a lot of things.
Yeah. So this year's theme is Champion Your Health.
Ooh.
And it really emphasizes prevention, wellness, personal responsibility to cornerstones of healthy aging. What do you see are some positives that you come out of aging?
I think learning how to exercise so that you can maintain that balance, because balance is an important thing, but also looking to go to your provider, medical provider, so that you're able to find out pre-warnings of things that may come. If you wait too long, they can't really attack.
Well, and a lot of people, I mean, they don't want to go to their health providers because they're afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
They don't want to know what's coming up next,
But knowing beforehand is better than
it is better,
learning it earlier on.
Catching
is
things
really
early,
able to address some of that.
So what do you think our culture sometimes treats aging as something to hide rather than celebrate? Why do you think that is?
I don't know if it's just, as we're younger, we don't really feel people as they age are productive.
They slow down a little bit.
Yeah, so they're showing those signs, but as we're younger, we really should have people educating us to say, life is a journey, and that journey needs to be played out all the way to the end. And those people that are aging were productive, as much as we want to be, because you do have some people that isolate themselves and kind of turn off their clock.
And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit,
Oh, okay.
the isolation aspect of aging, yeah. So I hear it all the time. I just want to stay in my own home as long as possible. I remember doing an interview with a lady who she was in her late 90s, still in her own home. We did the interview, and I just remember hearing her in one of her comments, "I love my home. I love my home." And she was just the most wonderful person that I have interviewed in a long time. She was just so sweet. The idea of independence seems really universal. And when we talk about aging well, what do you think they're really saying?
In the sense of aging well or being
aging well?
Aging well. I really think it's up to the person. We can educate and we can try to help them on the journey, but it also is the responsibility of ours to say, hey, I want to have a full life all the way to the end and make the decisions on how to make that happen. So when they were younger, when they were 20, they had to decide, hey, do I go to university or do I go to a tech college to learn these skills so that I am able to make money, to live well? I think as we get in our 40s, we need to start looking at, hey, how do I age well? How do I, when I turn 65 or 70, what do I need to do now to make sure that it's well rather than decline? So it's looking at every 10 to 15 years going, what is my coming up years going to look like, and how do I take that in hand to I know I'm 60.
Yeah, we're not quite 60. There yet, Kevin. Now
I didn't think you were.
Slow down.
So I'm not putting you in that ballpark.
I'm right there behind you, though.
I started back in my 50s going, what does my 60 need to look like? So I walk a lot.
Yeah.
I do a lot of hiking, and I know that's helped me. It keeps things moving. It keeps joints loosened up, things along that line. Now I'm going, hey, what do I need to do to look well in my 75?
Right.
So what does that need to? And I've started now going, I need to eat less.
Well, people sometimes try to hide that aging. Your hair starts to turn gray. What do? We color it so it's not gray. Clothing sometimes fits us a little bit looser as we age. We look a little less put together sometimes because we're home sometimes and we just let it go. I mean, if you could erase one stereotype that we hear about aging, what would that be?
Wow. I think that people, as they age, they can't live independently. They can.
Oh, most
really
definitely.
Yeah, we're seeing it happen. And I think we really have to as we age, stop pulling away from groups, stop pulling away from functions, stop pulling away from people, get around people, get involved in something, volunteer, get involved in a senior center, get involved in a support group, and stay involved in it. Or be a creator of groups so that you're realizing that because we do see where people start to isolate themselves. They get scared of the unknown, or they say, oh, nobody would love me, nobody would accept me for who I am. No, that's not true.
Yeah, and that goes across any age when it comes to a disability. I mean, you can, again, a disability crosses all age groups, and that's, I see that in some of the support groups that we offer. If someone has a newly acquired disability, it can feel really fresh. Probably same with aging. I can't speak to a lot of, to everyone's experience, but I know, as I've gotten older, it's kind of hard to get up off the ground.
You put that aging and disability together, and that's just double the obstacles that we have to face sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It can be. And I think you have to be tough. I think we've always heard that as we're growing up. You have to be tough to age, to grow old.
You do.
And you've got to make a decision in your mind that you're going to fight it and go against the grain and just get out there and challenge yourself daily to be in a group and to exercise and to, do things that are going to keep you alive for a long time and living well.
We talk about aging in place a lot. Why do you think it's so important that people age in their own homes?
That's a good question.
And maybe some people don't want to.
Yeah, I think some probably don't want to, but I think it's the norm of they've saved up for where they live. They've probably fought adversity to get into the place maybe they are, and that's just a comfort. I don't think living in one place or aging in that same place of that home is a bad thing. I think you just have to realize that, don't isolate yourself. Don't say, well, since I'm here, I don't have to go to my medical provider. Since I'm here, I don't have to be involved in church or another group, something like that.
Well, and you say we've saved up all of our life for aging and retirement. So, when I think about that, I think, I've saved all this money. I still want to be so that I can spend my money on myself and do the things that I want to do as I'm aging in my home. Yeah. Sometimes when you move into a residential care facility or even an independent, you sometimes just lose all sense of that independence and still wanting to do things in the outside.
It probably does. That could be a downside to that, moving into a care facility of some sort.
Yeah. Ultimately is the person's choice and what they, what's going to be best for them and keep them safe and healthy. And if that means staying in their home keeps them safe and healthy, or being in a facility, as much as some people fear that, I think it's still an option for people who don't have, who might not have the supports or don't have the capability to live in their home.
Well, there's a beauty to moving to those kind of situations of independent living as you retire. I mean, there are some people that want that.
Oh, most definitely. There's so many beautiful places in our community that you can do that and just live a wonderful life where everything's provided and you focus on yourself and doing what you want and not have to worry about the rest.
Yeah.
So aging in place might be that for somebody. It doesn't always have to be a house.
Well.
Most exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So what are you seeing are some of the challenges that we often face as we age in our communities? I'm thinking more like, transportation is always a big issue.
Transportation is a huge one because there just is not a lot in the sense that's affordable for some people.
Going back to those stereotypes that we were talking about, you're 80 now. You have no business having a car or driving. I hate when I hear that because not all older people are unsafe drivers.
Yeah, that's not always true.
Not at all.
And then there's just resources financially. Some people can't afford doing Uber all the time.
Right.
Or there's just not enough Lyft really or public transportation available.
Isolation, housing's a big one.
Housing is huge.
Affordable housing, I should say.
Yeah, it really is. It's hard to, because we really do have to realize there are a lot of people that just get Social Security, and some of that is not over $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
You know, so
I don't know how people do it now. I
How
really don't.
does one person afford housing unless it's through a HUD provider? And that type of situation is just not large here in this Springfield area, in this region.
It's something that I've noticed as parents or grandparents age also. If they've owned a home and decide to downsize or move into an apartment or a duplex, they're also seeing a difference in almost the cost of living, that they were kind of insulated from living in a home that they own.
Yeah, most definitely. You own the home, you don't have those payments, and suddenly you're having to change your living environment, going to a new place, and here you have the expense again of owning or of renting or whatever other costs comes with that.
Finding new furniture that might fit that new space, or even paying different expenses you haven't paid in a long time or never had to pay for.
Right. Yeah. There's a discrepancy in their mind when they're like, hey, I've owned this house for the last 10 years. And then you go, well, let's downsize and sell this. And then the rent is going to be $1,200 to $2,000.
When
they're like, what?
Yeah. When their home may have only been, a $800 mortgage.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does aging look different today than it did in previous years?
Wow. I think years ago it was more the kids of the person who was aging probably steering that, to say, let's get you moved to something where it's a community setting. I think now it's probably not the kids. It's more of the
They have
person.
more of a voice for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's changed, which is good. I mean, it really has gotten good. You still do have a lot of families that probably participate in that,
Right.
but it really is going to be the older adults steering it more so than a generation ago.
Now, see, my mind didn't even go there. My mind was thinking more of changes, technology.
Oh, yeah.
Is a big one, So, I mean, but neither one's a bad answer. I mean,
Yeah.
but technology changes even the past 5 years are amazing. I mean, look when you and I were, in our 30s or 20s, maybe cell phones didn't exist. Or if they did, it was that big old bag phone that you plug into your cigarette lighter, That was my first
Couldn't
phone.
carry it around.
That's right.
Right.
That was my first one. But, computers, how easy computers have transformed to laptops and iPads and tablets and things like that. But then you've got the obstacle of learning that technology. So that could be a barrier
Which,
for
as
some.
you age, sometimes that is hard. It does
I
get
mean,
a little bit more difficult than when you're younger.
Afton can attest to that. I mean, you have kids that know more than we do sometimes
Right.
on technology.
They just grab hold of it a lot quicker.
And I say Afton knows because she's so much younger than us, and she adapts right to it. So
Heck, even my niece she is so sharp when it comes to technology, where I'm still trying to click through, and she's like, just give me that. I'm like, okay, you take it.
I've
You
got
fix
grandkids
it.
that do that, so I understand. Well, the assistive technology to keep people independent in their home really has advanced. And I think it's going even quicker than I understand. So you may understand that a lot better than I
we
can.
do a lot of assistive technology, mostly for people who have a disability, hearing, vision, dexterity, things like that. We have a whole room full of assistive devices that can help with that. So we don't want that to be a barrier for anybody.
No, I think it's really going to grow. I think it continues to. I don't even know that we can keep up with it, honestly, for aging. But I think it's going to keep people at home a lot longer and be able to have that caregiver not be there, but watching through an iPad or something, a tablet or something.
I have to laugh about it. I'll get a phone call from my dad every now and then, and my printer's not working again, or I can't figure out how to get to a channel on TV or something. So I'll go over there. Let's say it's his printer. I push a button, it starts working. he just throws his arms up. What did you do? It's like, Dad, I pushed a button. But it's funny, little things like that. But
we have to laugh at ourselves.
Exactly. Our tech guy comes into me all the time, and he does the same thing. He pushes a button and something works again. So it's like, okay. So let's talk a little bit about community and connection. One thing I think about that people underestimate is how much social connection really affects us.
Right. We focus on physical health, but purpose and community matter too. So, Kevin, are you seeing that?
Oh, my goodness, yes. We over Senior Age, we do over 100,000 calls per year to people who are probably isolated. At some level or another. There's always different levels. You'll have some people who are receiving home delivered meals, and it might be their driver that they see once a week, and that's the only person they see. And then they'll get a phone call from a volunteer or one of our team members to, see how the meals are, but also start conversations on how they're doing. And it's the highlight of their week. We hear over and over again because they don't talk to anyone. What a shame. I mean, of course, rural areas may be the part of the problem, and they don't have a vehicle to get out, so they live far from their neighbors, things along that line. But I think that, we have to address that somehow, really to help educate people, whether they're 20 years old or all the way up to 100 years old.
Right.
Isolation is not good for anyone. I mean, we're set on earth to participate, engage in things, and there's such a wealth of just wonder in engaging with another person. When you're staying open and thinking about how can I speak into that person's life, how can I enjoy what they're going through, and how can they help me through the tough times that I'm having.
Some of the things I think about when you're talking about social isolation is finding your own hobbies, things that you enjoy that just get you out of the house. But you also mentioned volunteering.
Oh, Julie.
Yeah. And Afton, you're the volunteer expert guru coordinator here. How big of a role, either of you, do you think volunteerism plays as you age?
I know, speaking from my own experience, being our volunteer coordinator, but also my own volunteer experience, my own experience kind of comes from helping at the senior center that I grew up. It was in my hometown, and I got a lot of rich experience from working with seniors because when they were there, so we helped prep the food. It was Meals on Wheels that we would get, so we warm it up, get it all ready, send it out, and then we'd have the meal at the senior center. But while it was warming up, it was so nice because I would get to sit with all of them, and they would oftentimes bring their hobbies, and a lot of them crocheted, and I crochet, and all I knew how to do was make a chain at that time. And so they were like, "Oh, honey, you're going to learn how to make baby booties and blankets, and we're going to teach you all fun there is."
Yeah.
And so I learned more from them about my own hobby. And as a volunteer coordinator, we've had lots of people, lots of older adults who come in who are looking for something to do. They don't have a whole lot on their plate at the moment, or they just retired, and they have a lot of experience or a lot of expertise. And those are some of my favorite people because they have a lot of time and a lot of flexibility, and they want to, they want to give back.
And the stories they have to share is amazing. Yeah. I didn't know that about your background. I didn't know you came from a senior activity center background, setting when you were growing up. But focusing on that, Kevin, we know that our senior activity centers are a place of so much talent. Like you said, the crocheting, but that's only a tiny little piece of it. The stories, the wisdom, the hobbies, just the expertise that they can share with anybody around them.
Well, I think that's the important part about volunteerism is it does bring purpose in a person's life, but I think you have to push the right button for some people, and you have to find what they know they're going to present to as a volunteer, and that connects them forever.
What are they passionate about?
Exactly.
What can I,
Yep.
Just bringing that out of them to get them involved just gives them a sense of fluttery hearts, and and the people that they are touching might be bringing somebody out of their own shell.
Yep. I know digging a hole for me to volunteer, I would do that, but would I have fun? No. But set me in a place where I can help people find purpose in life. I'm all over that. I can volunteer all day
I don't
for that.
see either one of us, Kevin, either one of us ever retiring or
No, I don't think so.
Giving up all of our connections here. So, almost everybody I know that is of our age are helping raise their grandchildren. That's a big one today. And the old saying goes, it takes a village.
Yeah.
How do you see that as playing in a aging person's life?
I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And, it's finding how we can support caregivers as they age. And that's a tough thing because they're very busy. So how do you support them? And then you have to have some finances behind that to be able to help them. So I think the biggest thing is being open to education. As we as leaders, we've really got to be asking caregivers questions and saying, how can we support you? What do you need? What do you see you needing in the future? What kind of solutions do you see that we can help? It's talking those things out and then being open for innovation. How do we innovate that caregiver? How do we support them? Because if you do look at some of the reports for the U.S., there are trillions of dollars saved because of caregivers.
Oh, yeah.
So if they're being saved, how do we continue that movement in the future and how do we support them through that?
Well, on the flip side of that, look at the money that's being saved by not being in daycare.
Right.
If I don't see how a younger person survives today in this economy with income versus what they have to pay for childcare. It is crazy.
It is crazy. They just make it happen.
Somehow they do, and that's why I say I think grandparents are playing a bigger role in helping raise those grandkids, whether they're living with them or not.
Right.
Just the babysitting hours and things, just so that the parents can actually have a job or do some things on their own.
Well, and we had Mark Applegate on a few months ago, too, which great time talking with him as well. And we talked about caregivers and talking about, how do you support them? And I think that's a great point that you made, that he even mentioned, even you can get a little more specific and say, have you eaten today? Do you need a nap? Are you... are you feeling worn out? I can take them for a little while, just any way you can address it specifically too. So then, because for me, I get decision fatigue sometimes where I'm like, I don't know, you pick.
So let's say we're going into retirement. People really sometimes picture vacations and sleeping in and sitting out on your porch, drinking the coffee and watching the deer. A lot of people have that vision. But then there's other people, they might think that they've lost their routine or their purpose or their social interactions. How do we help them overcome that?
I think it's some conversations, and it's also realizing that you've got to be open to seek other people's advice on that. Because you're going to find most retirees, the ones that we probably work with, they really will say, I have to have something to do. So then we steer them to the volunteerism side, or we steer them to get involved in a group of some kind. It's going to change over time.
I hear a lot of
It's
people
gonna be different.
I hear a lot of people say, if I won the lottery, I would quit work, and I would. It's like, I don't think if I won the lottery, I could even quit work.
No.
I mean, I might have a little bit more time to do a few things that I enjoy, but I think I would lose all sense of connection if I actually quit work and just went straight into retirement like that.
Maybe you need to write a book on that, Julie.
I don't think I'm ever going to win the lottery, so that's probably not going to happen. What do you think surprises most people about retirement?
I think because we do visit with people who could volunteer, they really say that they thought it was going to be easier in the sense of we have this grandiose thought about retirement. And I think maybe 2 weeks down the road, we're like, that grandiose thought is going down, and it kind of sets into depression maybe, or just disappointment, that it's just not exactly what everybody makes it to be. For the average person, I think they're like, I'm losing my purpose. I'm not happy. I need to get involved in something. And because I was working so hard, I wasn't involved in anything but work.
Right.
So now what are the avenues that I find, or who do I reach out to help me through this? And it's a struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know that, like I said, we have some people who've retired who reach out to us for volunteer work. And unfortunately, we're more of we try to work in the community or try to host things here as, on a schedule. but they're like, I want here every day. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't always have what you want every day. So I always try to send them to senior centers or to different, Convoy of Hope is always looking for volunteers. So I definitely think that, I know talking to other volunteer coordinators, even they're always looking for expertise. Like they don't want just any old person. They want someone who really cares and really, like what you were talking about with interest. You know, if you have that interest, that drive, that care and passion toward it, that makes it even better.
Well, look at that Give 5 program. I think that's exactly why that was developed. You bring people in who've had a lifetime of experience, and now they're able to give back through volunteering and helping other organizations do what they've accomplished in their life.
We couldn't do it without volunteers.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, it really is difficult. And I don't think volunteers really understand that.
I think it's really important as we age to understand, find, and know what resources are available to you before you actually need them. And at SeniorAge and here at Empower Abilities, that's been a big part of my role, is education on what's available. How do you think that plays in a family's life? How do they find this information?
It seems like they wait until it's raining, the storms, and they're looking, and it's your senses are on high, your nerves are on high, your anxiety's high, and that's a difficult place for any of us to be at, really hard. So education is the part, but our funding is always so low, we can't advertise like a large for-profit business might be able to kind of attack that, so it's things like this, podcasts, it's radio shows, it's one-on-one kind of conversations, making sure that whoever we're serving, you're saying, hey, get the message out for us. Make sure you're telling your neighbors. Make sure your family knows what we offer, things on that line.
Yeah. I think another thing that we face, and it's imminent for everybody, is losing a spouse or a life partner. And that totally changes your life, and that oftentimes leads people to isolation and just total withdrawals.
Yeah.
How do we help people who have lost a partner overcome the sadness? And I mean, luckily I haven't had to experience that yet, but my dad has, and I know many people who have.
I think a lot of times we'll get things like that, and our care coordinators will share, as they open up with the story, we just share what we're available to help them with, what resources we have, and then, of course, open up that whole resource toolbox to say, there's another agency out there like your own, Empower Abilities that might be able to assist you with that.
There's people to talk to, support groups, and all that good stuff. Go ahead, Afton.
I definitely have seen that myself with some of some of our consumers that have come in and shared their story about they have a disability. They depended on their spouse for whatever that may be, transportation, caregiving, whatever, and it makes me cry every time because I feel for them, and I really think sometimes they just need someone to hear them and understand their story.
Yeah, empathy. Yeah, caring.
So you mentioned stories, Kevin. Is there any story, of course, without revealing names,
Sure.
that has really changed your perspective on aging?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I can think of a few.
Can you?
I'll probably give you one. I feel there was a lady that her spouse had passed away, and she was having a difficult time. And I think she had seen the sign near a senior center, and then came to the main office, got to visit with a care coordinator, and shared what she was going through. So then, of course, the care coordinator said, hey, there's some resources that we can offer to you, and you qualify for this financially. And she said, no, there's other people that need that. That serving people, that tightens your chest a little bit, because you're like, but this is there for you. And that shows the toughness of some people. No, I can do this on my own. And so you always had that friendly conversation to say, this can help you greatly. And of course, that lady was like, no.
Regardless what you say, the answer's still no.
So sometimes I think that sums it up in the way of seeing aging as different. There are people out there that, they're tough as birds. I think of my grandma.
True.
She was that way too. She's like,
My grandma was like that too, very independent.
Oh man,
headstrong, and
just gonna make it through. But I think as we age, I was referring to that earlier. I really think we have to take aging on ourselves. How we want to age, and realize it is tough. There's going to be rough, challenging moments, but we're going to have to stand against those and find people to support us or resources to walk us through. But you really have to be your own guide on that stuff.
That's true. So you watch the news, you read books, and you hear the stories of, I eat bacon every day, or I drink a couple of glasses of wine every night. What advice do you really think older adults would give the rest of us for aging well?
Good question, but we've asked that question before, and I think there's lots that came back information-wise, but I think the biggest thing was they said just take things in stride and forgive people.
That's a good one.
Forgive people, because you can always be offended, and if you get that offense and hang on to it, they said it can they've seen it destroy people's lives. I think of a lady that when I was in my hospice years ago, she was 107 and still living. And I would ask her most of the time, how are you? How'd you get to this? And she's like, I just let things go. It's like, yeah, I can see that, And of course, she felt like she was living longer than she wanted to, but she was doing well. But she always said, she'd go out to a meal with her relative and say, the meal wasn't the best thing, but they were trying, And she just didn't hang on to anything. So.
I really just saw something talking, I think it was a Washington Post article talking about optimism and how optimism actually can prolong your life. Something along those lines. So what you described to me sounds like optimism.
Yeah. Positive attitude about things.
Well, I think having something to look forward to is also very important. A lady that I did interview when I was with SeniorAge, she was 105. Wow. And her advice on aging well was having something to look forward to. And her thing was throwing her own birthday party every year.
Oh, what fun.
It was a big
the way she wanted to do it.
Yes, it was a big celebration. It might have had wine involved, but it was always a great celebration that she wanted to plan. She wanted to invite who she wanted, and that was her.
For her.
Yeah, that was her goals in life, is just to live as long as she could and celebrate as long as she could.
I love that.
So here's a fast round for you.
Ooh, cool.
All right. What's one word that describes healthy aging?
Strong.
Afton?
Oh, that's a hard one. I don't know. You'll just
pass
me.
All right, Kevin. Favorite advice you've ever received? Best advice, I should say.
Best advice? I think probably live up to your standard.
Okay. One thing people are never too old to start doing.
Oh, exercising.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Coffee, tea, or wine?
I'm a tea guy. So.
Early bird or night owl?
Early.
Okay. And then finally, what's the best thing you can see about getting older?
Relationships.
Okay. Any comments on those, Afton?
No, I'm also a tea drinker.
Well, cool.
So if you go back, Kevin, and tell your younger self, one thing about aging, what would you go back and tell yourself?
I'd probably say start eating better earlier.
Okay. And then is there one thing that you would actually look forward to in your future life?
Oh, many things, yeah. Grandkids, great-grandkids.
Do you not have grandkids?
I do have grandkids.
You do? Okay.
Great-grandkids.
Okay.
Growth in, just exceeding in life, pursuing what I want to.
That's kind of me. I do look forward to sleeping in because I am not a morning person at all. But camping more, getting out, like you say, just enjoying nature and doing more things that I enjoy. But still, I would always plan to have volunteerism in my life and helping do other things for other people. Girl Scouts was always a big part of my life growing up. And I think somehow outdoors and giving back will still play important roles there
that's cool.
for me.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up Older Americans Month, and today's conversation, what message would you like our listeners to leave with today?
I really want them to understand that there's a world of opportunity. There, if you haven't floated in a hot air balloon ride, go float in a hot air balloon ride. If you've not gone on the highest Ferris wheel around you, go on the highest Ferris wheel. If you've not gone ice skating, go ice skating. If you've not gone to an Olympic celebration, go to a celebration. Or even this one. I like what you said about that lady, 105. Mm-hmm. She made her own birthday party every year. Mm-hmm. Make your own birthday party every year. Invite who you want to.
Make your own dreams. Just fulfill them every day. Yep. That's right. So I don't think aging is anything about losing independence. It's really about living.
Yes.
And that's kind of what today's conversation has been about, is living your dreams, living your life to the fullest, and really don't take a moment for granted.
That's true.
Build on connections and opportunities that help you live life on your own terms. So independence doesn't have an age limit.
It doesn't.
I don't think, anyway.
I don't think so.
And as a Center for Independent Living and you with an area agency on aging, I think both of us can help families find the resources.
We better.
Yeah, I know, right? Otherwise, there's no reason for our existence, right? But we want to help people live independently, age in their own home or their own space of their choosing, and just give back as they want to and can.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on today's conversation?
I was just thinking as you're going through that list, if you are isolated or if you need to challenge yourself and meet new people, invite them over. Have a dinner, invite 3 or 4 people and just start some conversations.
Well, and I thought I was done too, but now that you say that, I think always checking in on your aging neighbors.
Yeah.
And making sure that they're okay. Like you said earlier in the show, sometimes they don't see anybody in a day's time. They don't receive phone calls. Maybe they have no family, or hopefully they have friends, but friends
Right.
don't always check on you. So if you have aging neighbors, be sure and check in on them and just make sure that they are living well.
That's good. Thanks for letting me be on the show today.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Afton, any final words?
No, I just want to thank you, Kevin, for coming on the show with us.
It was my pleasure.
All right, folks, we hope you gained something important from today's Empower Hour, and stay tuned for next month. I'm sure we're going to have another wonderful topic for you.
Thanks for listening. If you have any episode ideas or questions, feel free to email us at marketing@empowerabilities.org. You can feel free to listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Visit our website and get involved.